I want to ask first for all of you just to introduce yourself and then say how you're involved, like what it is you do. Because some of these are families and some of these are people that work for supporting other people. And so I want you to just say who you are and then what you're involved in and how you got involved. Or sorry, not how, but what it is that you do.
I'm Heidi Ritchie, and I'm an adoptive mom. Both of our boys are adopted, and I couldn't believe when I was thinking about this. I was like, wow, we started this journey 18 years ago, and it's been a blink, but yeah, so.
Hi, I'm Megan Heisey, and I'm an adoptive mom and an adoptive and foster care advocate.
My name is Linda Briggs. I am an Oklahoma Human Services, foster care recruiter. And I've been with DHS for almost 22 years, and about half of that's been with child welfare and foster care.
I'm Connie Johnson, and I am a mom to 15 kids. 12 of them are from 12 of them are from China. 2 were adopted domestically. And we've been in the adoption advocacy process for 21 years now.
I'm Renee Kaiser, and I am a court-appointed advocate.
Awesome. So you guys can, whoever wants to jump in first can go. But first question is, how has foster care or adoption affected your life personally?
That's more for you foster parents and adoptive parents.
I'll go first. I'll try without crying.
Did I say I was going? Yes. Okay, I'll go and then I'll pass it on. Okay. How is it? What was the question? How is it adopted?
How's it affected you?
Adopted?
How's it affected
you?
or impacted you?
My whole life. I mean, my husband and I tried for a long time to have our own kids, and we were in our mid-30s, and we were really searching, and I don't think there's a right answer, but for us, there's a lot of God steps that were involved, and it'd probably take me a whole service to tell you all about it, but it changed our life. I mean, before that, I think there was a hole in my heart, and then after that, I mean, I don't even think about being an adoptive mom anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am. Which it is, but now I look at it more through my kids' eyes and thinking about their life and how they're here for a purpose, and I'm part of their journey, and so it's not about me now, it's about them, and it's about how can I help them, and how can I just help them live the path that I know God planned for them, because for it to happen the way that it did, I mean, it was planned, and I'm happy to be on the journey with them, and I'm happy more than anything in my life to be mom to those 2 boys. So.
Well, it obviously changed our life completely. We went from 3 kids to 15, but not all at once. And the Lord just literally smacked us upside the head. We had surrendered to the mission field, and He said, well, I have a different mission field for you. And so it's given us a heart of compassion, and just knowing that we can love in ways that we never thought possible.
Yep. Next question, especially I think for Renee and Linda, would be good to answer. How and why did you get involved?
Yeah, so I, about 5 years ago, was working for a public school system, and I also was the children's director here at Open Door, and it really was kind of eye-opening to me, the amount of kids that were just taken from their home and placed into another home, a foster care, or maybe even a kinship or something like that, and they had no say-so. They were at school one day, and then the next day I was getting a phone call that they moved schools. And, I began to pray, how can I help these children. I felt like they were a part of my lives every day, and then they were just ripped away for no reason. And so, and most of the time it was because of a choice that their parent had made, or somebody close to them had made, and they had no word or, no say of what their next day looked like. And I, just began to mourn, and my heart just ached for those children, and they didn't deserve that. Nothing that they did deserved for them to be ripped from everything that they knew, and their safe place and their homes, and their school and their friendships. And so I think that being in the public school system really was an eye-opener for me in seeing that this is a huge problem. Somebody needs to step in and be a voice for these children when they can't be.
My journey, I was a journalism and mass communications student, felt that I was going to go into newspaper and what have you, and when I found myself out of work and I started taking some exams for the state, ended up, long story short, became a family support worker in TANF, and I thought that was my calling for life because I'd been on TANF, and then I was in the office one day whenever they had removed some kids, and I was like, what more can I do? And I think it was really God that kind of brought me over. I first worked foster care for a year and a half as a foster care worker. And then they did a merge that created a recruiter position. And it was kind of voluntold in a sort of way. But I think it was God saying, Linda, you wouldn't do this on your own, so I'm going to put you here. And it's been a blessing. It really has. I see each step. And I see the hard parts, and I have seen reunifications, I've seen adoptions, I've seen family connections and kinships being renewed where they weren't. So every part of it has a good, a bad, and the ugly, but every part of it has a hope.
Yeah. Any other parents you guys want to jump in on that question? How and why did you get involved?
Well, I think, and just to piggyback off of what Renee said about being a CASA worker, so our experience having a child in foster care, you're doing your visits, mom's working her plan, and we want reunification, but yet we also want what's best for the baby. And so if mom's in a hard spot, you are doing what you can as the foster parent, and the DHS workers are doing what they're supposed to do, which is reunify. So we're all praying for, the well-being of this child. But thankfully, I was given a CASA worker that stepped in and was the voice of the child, because at the time, my baby was like 1 and couldn't speak up for herself. And so my CASA worker was able to say what her needs were and what she thought. So, just the court appointed, that is one way you all could even get involved and I'm so thankful for CASA, because that really kind of helped our adoption process move. But to answer the second part, or go back to your question, which was what?
How and why
did you get involved?
How and why? I think Kevin kind of has mentioned a little bit about our adoption story. Whenever I was young, I always just wanted to own a daycare and have a lot of kids. And so it's really funny that I do now.
You got your wish.
I did. I'm there. But it's really funny because our oldest, who is 25, whenever he kind of found out that it was on our hearts to adopt, he was like, we should fill up this minivan with kids. And so never take for granted the heart of a kiddo speaking into your life or your family's desire to foster or adopt, because God will use all kinds of people. He'll use your kids, he'll use people in church, songs, and so just be open to that. So I would say that is one way, is that we were praying, and Kevin, I kind of had a heart to adopt, and Kevin wasn't ready, and finally God kind of put our story together, and it happened really fast. Our first adoption happened within a year, and then his brother came along, and then we adopted 2 more and usually the way that things have worked out for us, we usually have about anywhere from 30 minutes to decide. The longest we've ever had to get ready was it 3 weeks? 3 weeks to decide? Yeah, I was looking at him over there, not you.
Well, and the application period.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, well, with DHS, it can go fast to decide, but it can,
It can take some time.
it can take time too. So, yeah.
All right, quickly, because we're running out of time. Hardest thing or best thing about it?
I can tell you the hardest thing for me, very easily, sitting at the office with the kids that can't figure out why they're not wanted, why they're with us, workers, instead of with a family member or something. That's definitely the hardest part for me. The best part, them going home, whether it be reunification or adoption.
I think the hardest part for me is it's a journey, and so there's different areas. At this point, I have teenage boys, and hardest part is just walking with them so that they know their story, but also not letting them feel a hole, that they were, that their story changed, and it might not, they may not understand yet why. So helping them to navigate that is very hard, but also the best part is, watching them grow and watching them realize, hey, we're all adopted, and, I'm not any different than, anyone else who believes in Jesus. And so that right now is the best part, and also just letting them, realize that they have a story to tell and that they can impact lives. And so the story changes, or the journey changes. It's a journey.
That's good.
To wrap this up, I want to point you to some ways that you guys can get involved. And so, for starters, after service, if you want to talk to any of them and find out a little bit more, you can meet them in the lobby. If you want to get involved, especially with foster care here locally, Linda, she's the one to talk to. And so she'll be available this morning in the lobby if you want to talk to her. But there's also going to be an interest meeting on Thursday of this week in the lobby at 6:30. Not in the lobby, sorry, in the cafe downstairs at 6:30. And so if you would like to be involved in that, here's what we're going to do. The next slide, there's a number on the screen. If you're interested in any way whatsoever, you just want to find out more, maybe you want to start to get involved, you want to come to this interest meeting, I would encourage you to text that number, text HOPE to that phone number. And Megan will get those, and she'll collect those and be able to send out more information or get you connected with someone who can give you more information. But we want to really rally support in our church for people to get involved. And so the last question I want Megan to answer is, say you're here and you're hey, I the season of life, there's no way I could take some kids into my home. But what can you do? How else can we help as a church?
Well, I think there's a few ways. If you know someone in our church that is fostering or adopting, you can just offer to bring them a meal. You could offer to pick their kids up from school. You could watch their kids for them. Just be a support to that family, because if you're in the middle of foster care, there is a unsettled feeling that you have, and so any kind of respite care is the word that DHS uses. You can sign up to do that through DHS, but you can also just rally around people here in this church. And then another way would be Care Portal that Justin just showed that video, and so it's super easy, and we have a link on our website how you can get involved, and that is basically any families in need in Enid, whether it is a bed or it is, you are helping families in need through, this is kind of new. You're helping foster families, but you're also helping reunification. So you're helping parents get their children back if that's what is the best for the child. So you can help meet those physical needs through Care Portal. And then the last thing is maybe you do feel this call to foster or adopt, and you can talk to us how you would do that. There's other options if you don't want to go through DHS. I know Connie has adopted internationally, and there's private adoption agencies. Kevin and I adopted through CPO in Tulsa. So there's other options. really, there's a lot of ways you can help. So talk to any of us. We would love to share more. There's a lot that we could tell you about. So.
The one thing I will add is I'm also a Care Portal agency rep for DHS. So every one of those emails that come in as a request, I see them for our area. And I also see the responses back that says, hey, worker, this church has responded. Megan with Open Door Church has responded. So I see those as well. So if they have an issue with getting to them, I'm another connection for that.
Awesome. Hey, can we thank all of them for coming up and sharing this morning?